Chaos everywhere. Welcome to the PHNX Tailgate. It's just us two. I don't know what happened to everybody else, but we're here, and we're brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's favorite sportsbook app. Emma, run it.
Saul Bookman, Marcos Deniza Padre, Southbound Community College Cougar, and best of all, a Wildcat from the University of Arizona.
Johnny Venerable, Maricopa, Arizona. We have a Denny's and an IHOP. Bo Brock, the Harvard of Maricopa County, Scottsdale Community College, Fighting Artichoke.
Shane Diefenbach, North Scottsdale Circus School of Arizona. Honk, honk.
This is The Hangover. This is where we start talking about all the madness that happened over the last couple days, really. There's been several days of college football action. But we'll start off with this beauty that happened on Friday. My beloved Arizona Wildcats securing the Territorial Cup, bringing it back down to Tucson. I've rather enjoyed that very much. I did not enjoy the game, however, Bo. That game was a little too tense for my liking. When they started off 10-0, I thought, okay, we're going to blow these dudes out.
Right.
And you know what? And Trenton Bourget just was not having that.
No, he wasn't. He battled his way back. I thought he was too much shade was thrown on him. I liked your tweet kind of calling out Arizona Republic for that, saying that he didn't step up. Paraphrasing there in that game, he was the reason the Sun Devils were in that game, and it was exactly what you want to see. I mean, as far as the Pac-12 and their rivalry games, they all showed up. I mean, from last week with USC and UCLA, you had, of course, the Civil War yesterday. I know we're going to get into that with Oregon or Oregon State, and then the duel in the desert, the Territorial Cup, was fantastic. I don't care who you're rooting for. Like, both teams that had brutal seasons, I mean, more so ASU, they showed up and played.
Yeah.
And that's all you could ask for in that game.
Yeah, you know, I mean, and brutal is subjective, right? I think for Arizona, you know, the Vegas over-under was 2.5 on wins this season. They got 5.
Yeah.
That's a successful year for them. Yeah, they were flirting with bowl eligibility last week, but it didn't work out. But I do feel very good as a Wildcat about the trajectory of this program, especially if Jed Fish is able to capitalize on that improvement. I wouldn't even call their one win last season a win because they played against a Cal team who had like 45 dudes out with COVID, and they were playing against 4th and 5th stringers and barely won that game.
Yeah.
But he was still able to pull in the second-ranked recruiting class in the Pac-12 and a top 25 in the country. If he's able to do that with just that one win, I can't even imagine what he's about to do with 5 wins this season and the growth and the potential of this program. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
But also, let's be real. ASU should be very excited today.
Yeah.
ASU fans should definitely be excited with the fact that Kenny Dillingham, the offensive coordinator out of Oregon, is literally being announced as we speak as the program's new head coach. As a Wildcat, one of the things I told the Sun Devils guys is I'm kind of tired of both programs playing for really nothing. You know what I mean? Just pride. I don't
throw the records out game.
Yeah,
right?
I don't want the Pride Bowl. I want to see something like what we saw with Ohio State and Michigan yesterday. 2-3 going at it with everything on the line. A Big Ten championship, a berth in the college football playoff. Like I want to see those games at some point in my lifetime. And I hope with Fish and Dillingham. Oh my zipper's hitting this thing. I hope with Fish and Dillingham we get to see that.
I mean, it gives you at least. It projects to that, right? I mean, as far as what Dillingham brings is, you know, excitement, right? But you don't know. I mean, there's obviously the unknown. You've got a 32-year-old head coach that started coaching at 17 years old after he tore his ACL at Chaparral. It's a great story. I mean, he seems like he's a prodigy. You're going to have to kind of give him some time. But if you're an Arizona State Sun Devils fan, after losing your rivalry game, very rarely can you come off the weekend with a dub. And that's exactly what's happening. And you got to love Dillingham. They had a ground level VIP pass to the hottest coordinator in college football. Like, that doesn't happen. That's very rare. And you actually had a coaching vacancy. I mean, that's huge for the Sun Devil program. But with that, it's going to have to come some patience. This guy has been a coordinator his entire professional career. You're going to have to kind of take his lumps, but it's going to be exciting. It's going to be just like U of A. Like, you're going to have one season of where it's kind of an experiment. You're going to feel it out, You're going to figure out, where you can be successful. I'm sure he's going to be able to get a quarterback that can play some ball, and the offense is going to look a lot better. And then you're going to figure out, just like U of A, it's like, okay, we got the quarterback, we got a beast wide receiver, our offense looks good, and then, okay, where are the problem areas?
Yeah.
And then where can we build on that? And then we really find out what kind of coaches these guys are.
For sure.
But
it's much like what we're doing here at PHNX.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the fuck I was doing last year. And now we're in year 2 and things are a little bit better.
Right.
So there we go.
Yeah.
Listen, that chaos, and just to let you guys know that Kenny Dillingham is literally speaking to the media as we sit here. And we have Shane Diefenbach and Anthony Totri live in the studio or on location. They will send us some clips. If we get those clips before the end of the show, we will share some of those with you. So enjoy. In addition to that, college football was kind of thrown into more chaos yesterday. Oregon goes down, who could have potentially reached the CFP. You had Clemson go down, also could have potentially reached the CFP. You had LSU go down. 3 teams that were right there on the verge that absolutely choked it all away.
Yeah.
What were your takeaways for those 3 teams specifically?
I mean, the worst loss was LSU by far. Getting a chance with 2 losses, the chance to become the first 2-loss team. Sure, they got to beat Georgia still, but they didn't even get there, and they lose to Texas A&M, a team that has no business hanging with a team like LSU, and they lost. They lost handily. It was a big touchdown at the end of the game that sealed it to Muhammad, which was an incredible play. You got to see that. And then, I mean, Oregon, I feel like, I don't know, and this isn't on Dillingham, but as far as the decision, was it Dan Lanning, the head coach up there, twice in 2 big games and 2 losses now? He goes for it deep in his own territory and gets burned by it.
Yeah.
That was a brutal loss for them. But Clemson, I mean, what they lost to a rival, Spencer Rattler firing up the cigar. I still think that's embarrassing that he did that, right? The local product, like, actually win a big game. Like, you beat back-to-back big opponents, right?
I mean,
but win something that means something.
I mean, but I will say this. For a kid who's been through the ringer in terms of public scrutiny, especially in the SEC now, and at a program like Oklahoma, he was getting trashed last year.
Yeah.
To come back and have back-to-back, I mean, significant victories over 2 top 10 opponents. That's saying
and
something.
Play really well. His best football was the last 2 games, no doubt about it.
Oh, he made a lot of money.
Yeah.
No doubt about that for sure.
I hope he comes back. I really do. I don't know if he will at this point, but I hope he comes back and puts a full season together. We haven't seen that. We didn't see it at Oklahoma. We didn't see it this year at South Carolina. But it reminds me of the meme where it's the guy, he's celebrating on the podium, and he's spraying champagne all over his face, he's biting his medal, and it shows him on the podium he's in 3rd place. It's like, that's great, right? That's a nice consolation. It should be a consolation prize. Your eyes should be set a little higher. Yeah. And Spencer Rattler certainly has the talent, and we've seen it on display the last 2 weeks. But, I mean, Clemson, their quarterback was like 9 of 29 in that game.
Yep.
I mean, they just couldn't get it done. They should have been able to just run all over them. They essentially did, but still couldn't get the W against South Carolina. But, tip of the cap to those guys. Spencer Rattler in South Carolina played well the last 2 weeks.
Ohio State, Michigan yesterday. What a game. I thought Michigan, this year's Michigan team felt different to me. I felt like they were pretty sound defensively all season, and I felt like they had a chance going to Ohio State. I had no idea they were going to put the whooping on the Buckeyes the way they did. They basically just wore them down, and then in the 4th quarter took advantage of every single opportunity and doubled up basically Ohio State 45-23. I thought overall the performance by McCarthy was fantastic.
Yeah.
He was on point all game long, didn't get rattled, especially in the early going when things weren't ideal. But he was able to fight through it, and CJ Stroud struggled against that defense, especially in the second half. What were your big takeaways on that?
I mean, the defense for Ohio State, they couldn't compete at all. It was embarrassing. I mean, the fact that the guy would get through the first level and then be gone. I mean, the amount of big plays over 60 yards, what was it, 5 big plays over 60 yards?
Safeties had no idea what they were doing out there.
They couldn't compete at all. And as far as the quarterback play, like they go through what Jim Harbaugh prepared them to expect, and they saw exactly that. And then they capitalized on that. I mean, they imposed their will on Ohio State. That was the first win in Columbus since 2000, right? 22 years?
7 straight losses.
Yeah. I mean, that was pent-up rage that was just expelled the last 2 times that they played. So I think that a 22-point loss at home to your rival, I mean, that's it for Ohio State, right? There's no way they sneak back in this thing?
The only way Ohio State somehow finds a way in is if everybody that's favored to win their conference championship games lose.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like you would have to have USC lose. You'd have to have TCU lose in order for Ohio State to get a nod in there. And even then, I don't know if it really. Listen, I've been a big proponent that if you have a conference championship game and you make it to your conference championship game undefeated, I don't really care what happens in that championship game if everybody else is the same, right? So if you have 4 one-loss teams and 2 of them, and there's 2 spots, and 2 of them did not get to their conference championship game, then fuck them. Mm-hmm. They're out. They're out. You weren't good enough to even get to your conference championship game. You don't deserve a spot in the college football playoff.
I mean, I still would love somebody to beat TCU. TCU absolutely did what they had to do yesterday and rolled Ohio State. It was the best defense in the conference. It didn't look like it. But I don't know. I just think the Big 12.
Iowa State.
What did I say?
Ohio State.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Iowa State.
I was like, Ohio State had a rough day yesterday.
Yeah, both
they got
programs.
Beat by 2 teams.
It was terrible. No, I have my reservations about the Big 12. I think it's down worse than it's ever been. And if they lose in the championship game, is it Kansas State that they play, right?
Yeah.
And that's a team that's won some big games. They shut out Oklahoma State, fully capable of pulling off the upset. I think that's been such an uneven conference that I might allow a 1-win non-championship game team in.
Listen, Texas almost beat Alabama with a backup quarterback, and they lost by a field goal. Like, I know that you're crapping on the Big 12, but TCU beat 5 ranked teams this year. They're legit. They execute at a very high level. Just go back to last week and that rushing field goal attempt at the end of the game that you could tell they had practiced a million times. Like, it was beautiful. It was probably one of the best end of game executed plays I've ever seen in my life because of the franticness of the moment and them being prepared for it. So that just tells me Sonny Dykes and crew has this team playing efficiently, effectively, and I think that if they get into a college football playoff, I think they might surprise a lot of people. I know we know about the SEC, we know about the Georgias of the world and stuff like that, but as we're going to get to right now, here are my top 4 in terms of the college football playoff. Right now, I have Georgia, the top dog, Michigan, number 2, and then I have TCU because you're not going to put a 1-loss SC team over TCU. And then I have SC at number 4. I think the Trojans, man, Caleb Williams and his performance yesterday and the performance the week before, he's really solidified. If he doesn't win the Heisman this year, it's an absolute fraud. Yeah. I know what homeboy is doing from TCU. He's playing efficiently. CJ Stroud was playing pretty good, but then he showed his ass yesterday. It's Caleb Williams. At this point, why would we give the award to anybody else?
Right. No, I mean, this is I have the receipts. I said this a couple weeks ago. I got a buddy, he's an insufferable USC fan, but I said, look, if USC wins out, this was before their rival game against UCLA. If they win out, if they beat ranked UCLA, if they beat ranked Notre Dame, if they beat a ranked team in the Pac-12 championship game, it's undeniable. They're a CFP team, and Caleb Williams is your Heisman. I mean, to run through that at the end of the season when it means the most, and to perform and be the top player in the last 2 games. I mean, that 80-yard rush, the big first down conversion he had late in the game, the rushing touchdowns at the end of the game. He looks like a taller Kyler Murray. I mean, he looks like RG3 when he won the Heisman too, a little bit better put together. You have to love Caleb Williams' game, and I don't think I have the Southwest Bias T-shirt on today from PHNX Locker. You could probably get a good deal on it right now. But as far as what Williams is doing, I mean, if he doesn't win it, there's a SEC, there's the East Coast bias that's at play here.
Yeah, for sure. What are your top 4?
I mean, I think yours are trash because here are mine: Georgia, Michigan, TCU, USC. I was copying your work, Saul. Because I completely agree. I mean, until Georgia they haven't taken any missteps. Michigan, their flex on Ohio State, and then TCU they deserve this. I think as far as their margin for error is the slimmest of. Well, I guess USC they can't lose either; they'll be out. But as far as margin for error, I mean, Georgia could stand to lose, and Michigan could stand to lose. TCU can't stand to lose. Neither can USC, but I think with the one blemish, USC is the 4th team. But I love how they're playing.
Let's just take it this way, okay? If TCU or USC drops, specifically USC, if USC falters in the Pac-12 championship game. Is Ohio State in?
Damn.
Or is Alabama going to be that team?
I mean, Bama doesn't have they can't play either. I mean, with the 2 losses, I think unfortunately becomes Ohio State, right? With their 1 loss.
Yeah, but God, I don't want to see that.
I mean, you know that you're dealing with a very fraudulent program at this point. That's very flawed.
Yeah, I know people will clamor for Alabama too, just because it's Alabama, and I just don't agree. I just don't feel like Alabama's one of the top 4 teams in the country this year. They have a really nice piece at quarterback. Yes, I really like his game, but it just does not feel like this is it for Alabama this year. Georgia, to me, is clear by far the best team in the country. However, I do feel like Michigan can give them a game. And I wouldn't sleep completely on USC, but USC's defense leaves a lot to be desired against a team like Georgia with the beasts that they have. And I feel like I just don't feel like they would be able to match up. Caleb Williams would have to have the game of all games in order to pull that one off. I do believe TCU could upset Michigan, though. And so that's kind of where I'm at with this whole thing.
Even after what you saw on display yesterday?
Yeah, because TCU has some weapons offensively that I just feel like they're just fundamentally sound on both sides of the ball, and they don't really make a lot of errors themselves.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I would never give the edge to Sonny Dykes. He's having a great season over Jim Harbaugh. I think X's and O's, what the Wolverines do, is going to edge there, and then just pure talent. I mean, there's still a huge underdog. I mean, what would we even cap the spread at? Are we looking at close to double digits going into that game?
I would say probably like 7.
All right.
Probably 7. You mentioned them as an underdog, but there's also an app.
Absolutely. And I'm scrolling through it. I'm looking at some tasty higher lowers for today in the Arizona Cardinals game, because we got to kind of dress that game up a little bit as the Cardinals go into it 4-7. They don't have a whole lot to play for. Justin Herbert, though, Kyler Murray, we're going to see that matchup. I'm looking at some higher lowers as far as, could Kyler tap into maybe some pass attempts, passing yardages here. That's a fun little game you can play. You can also set up your own fantasy showdown with you and your buddies. It's daily fantasy. If you're already out of your fantasy league right now, this is where you're going to be able to get into it and get some action today. Underdog, they got the daily fantasy. Do it differently. Draft your own team against 5 of your friends in the highest scoring squads for the night. Win cold hard cash. You can win some cold hard cash just by doing it. You can draft NBA players. No positional limits there, just the best 5 that you think, and that's it. Personal experience with me doing this, I took the insurance on some of these higher lowers, and I was able to cash in. I went 4 for 5. I didn't have that devastating bad beat of having like Oregon -3 and then them crapping the game away, right? I got the underdog to pay me out on this. All our PHNX friends over here are messing around with Zap and having a blast with it. Underdog fantasy, you got to do it today. Different things you got available as well. You got the NBA, you got yourself the daily fantasy aspect of that. Cash in today. Use Underdog. You can get in there and use PHNX as your promo code and have some fun. Get your Sundays a little bit more excited. Same thing with Monday and the rest of the NBA season.
Yeah, well, not only that, but also speaking of excitement, the vibes have been immaculate over at Four Peaks. If you have not joined us over there for the World Cup matches, you are missing out. And we have a doozy coming up on Tuesday. The U.S. team in the group stage needs a win in order to advance to the knockout stage, and they got to play Iran. And listen, we already know politically and on the world spectrum what that vibe is like between Iran and the U.S. And this is just going to add to the mix. This is going to be a game for the ages. We're going to be out there. We're excited to be out there. We've had such a turnout for all of these matches, especially the U.S. matches. Each U.S. match has had at least 150 people there. The last U.S. match, it was standing room only in the entire bar at Four Peaks against England. I expect it to be no different on Tuesday as they play Iran. It's going to be a fantastic environment. We're excited to be there, and we'll also be there for the final Mexico game, who's still alive as well, even despite the loss against Argentina yesterday. Some things have to break their way, but Mexico, U.S. still alive this week. We'll be there Tuesday. Please come out, enjoy some Four Peaks, some $3 kill lifters, drink specials, and some other food specials as well. It's a fantastic time. Just remember, you must be 21 and over to partake. Have you been out there yet?
Oh, yeah. I went out for the opener with the U.S. against Wales.
Okay.
It was an electric atmosphere. It was, what was it, on a Monday?
Yeah.
But you
Monday.
wouldn't be able to tell it was a Monday. I mean, it was wall to wall. I had to park all the way by McClintock. I mean, it was so packed. I had to park on 8th Street in McClintock, basically. Walked my ass all the way down to the watching party. Everybody was having a blast. Max, our guy Ramon, they're up firing up the whole crew there. You're not going to want to miss out on that.
And Owen is back from drinking his salty tears after
Is he back?
Wales looks like he's about to get eliminated. He'll be back this week. He texted me yesterday, said, I'm so excited to be back and see what the vibes were like at the bar because it's looked insane on social. So he will be back for Tuesday's
He's
matches.
oversleeping in a tent.
Yeah, he's over there.
Over there.
Actually, he was sleeping on a cruise boat. I'm not even joking. He was sleeping on a cruise boat because they were limited in terms of a hotel space in Qatar. So he was there with his family. He said it was a great time because they were able to drink on the boat as opposed to in the stadium. So, welcome back, Owen. And speaking of welcome back, Emma is here with Survey Says Cerveza.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so the Arizona Cardinals are playing the LA Chargers. So we're going to do a cute little hot or not, but we're going to do it LA edition.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
All right.
I like it.
Beat
So-
LA.
Yeah, we hope. All right, hot or not, the LA Walk of Fame, the stars on Hollywood Boulevard.
It'd be cool to get a star there, but it's kind of like, I don't know. It feels like it's a little played out. So I'm going to say not.
I'll say hot. I mean, it's out there. I mean, it's iconic, right? You walk down, you point it out. It's not like I'm not going to LA strictly for that,
Yeah.
but it's something I'll pay attention to. I won't put it on my to-do list. But
Right. So, like, if you're going to LA and someone that was with you was like, hey, let's go look at the stars. on Hollywood
I say
Boulevard."
okay.
yeah,
I'd
but
say
I'm not
okay.
like, hey, I got to seek out John Stamos' star on the Walk of Fame or whatever. 'Cause
Yeah. Same.
Hot or not, Hollywood. You can take this one or two ways. Hollywood Brown
Mhm.
or Hollywood in general.
I'll answer this first.
Go ahead.
Hollywood Brown back in the lineup. DeAndre Hopkins, the first glimpse of it. We waited too damn long for this. Week 12. It is absolutely hot. It's fire. I want to see it. We're going to see it. Kyler Murray's back in the lineup. This season is lost. At least we have this. It's hot.
I mean, it's lost, but if they did win the rest of their games, maybe it wouldn't be. I
Right.
don't know.
Right.
That's what it's going to take.
Sure.
Right? They're going to
Oh,
have
yeah.
to win 6 in a row to make it to the playoffs. I'm going to go the other Hollywood. Hollywood's definitely hot. Like, let's be real. Like, if you got invited, if you were in LA and somebody invited you to a Hollywood party, you're going. You're
Oh,
not saying
yeah.
no to that, right? That's definitely hot for sure.
Yeah. Hollywood parties, chef's kiss.
Have you been?
So many times.
What?
Before this
Who the
job,
fuck is this girl?
What? There's
Before-
no way.
before this job, I had a thing with someone who, anyway,
What thing?
like a
A
situation
thing.
ship.
Okay.
You know,
Situation.
a thing.
Something that has no labels but has labels.
Okay.
Okay.
And she always wanted to go to California for parties
Mhm.
because she did work with social media. So we would literally go for like the night, like not even 24 hours, be there and then come back. Or she would stay there and I would just go back and forth.
Let me tell you about a little story. I had a friend that had a 30th birthday party, and she was an actress out there. Grew up with her, went to high school with her, and she.
Are you about to name drop?
No,
Emma
I'm
Stone or
not. I'm
some
not.
shit?
You wouldn't even know the name. I think she was on like, was it what's Ice-T on these days?
I don't even
Not
know.
CIS.
Oh, yeah. I got
Special
you.
Victims Unit, right?
Yeah.
She was on that show. She was in a couple commercials, but she lived in Hollywood. Throwing a 30th birthday party. We all chip in on a Hollywood Hills mansion Airbnb.
Mhm.
We get there. Me and my boy were the first people to show up. We just drove through the desert to get there. Everybody else was flying in from the East Coast. And we get there early, so they give us the code. And we go up through this swanky Airbnb, and we get a message say, "Get out of there. The tenant's not out of there yet. Leave." And we could tell that from the mansion because there's like either the bed sheets are all ruffled. Upstairs, there's all this like really expensive alcohol. And we end up leaving. And then next thing we know is the garage door is closing. This Range Rover comes, this Escalade comes, these big, huge, really expensive SUVs roll up in this caravan. And a big bald bodyguard comes out. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And we're like, they thought we were some fanboys because the person that was going in was T.I., the rapper. And we were supposed to stay there that night. And we explained to him that we were renting it out. And he said, "No, you're not staying there. T.I.'s staying here at least one more night." All 15 of us that were traveling from abroad had to figure out where to stay that night because T.I. wasn't leaving his Airbnb a night early.
Holy
Damn.
Yeah.
shit. That's rough.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
But it was fun after that. Like once we got in the next day, that Hollywood Hill, like that was a fun party.
You say, well, let me just talk to Mr. I real quick.
Yeah, is Mr. I available? He could say I can have whatever I'd like.
What else you got, Emma?
All right, last one. This isn't really Hollywood or LA themed. It's more holiday themed. Hot or not, treats and candies shaped as holiday things. So like for Halloween, pumpkin Reese's as an example. For Christmas, the Christmas tree little Debbie cakes.
Okay.
Hot
Okay.
or not.
So I'm going to say not, with the exception of those Debbie cakes. Those Debbie cakes are fire. The Christmas tree ones, yes, give me them all. However, the Hollywood, the pumpkins and like the turkey shit and like all like the Christmas stuff, like all of it, you can save that. I don't want any of it. I don't want a candy cane shaped fucking Christmas cookie. That's so mid. It's so fucking basic. Like, take that shit out of my house.
What
and
about
go
the
somewhere
Cadbury
else.
egg?
No, I don't want
No?
any of that. No,
For
I don't want
Easter?
any of it. No,
Oh,
I don't even.
I'm on board with that. I think that makes the case for me. Cadbury egg and some. I mean, any kind of cookie, Christmas cookies are always great. Get the frosting on them. Absolutely. I'm on board.
I personally think that they are hot simply because I feel like they are more fresh, if that makes sense. So if
Yeah,
you,
okay.
if you,
Yeah. They're usually homemade, right?
Okay, fair enough.
Okay,
Fair
that's all I
enough.
have.
Well, hey, listen. Usually, if you're buying those Christmas cookies and all this other stuff, it's because like you have mid-level taste anyway. But something that does not have mid-level taste is the Game Time app, where you can right now buy a ticket for $27 on the Game Time app to go watch the Chargers versus the Cardinals there at State Farm Stadium today. Save up to 60% off, as low as $107 to sit at the 50-yard line today. As of right now on the Game Time app, you have to use it by clicking this code that we're about to put in the chat. Please, please, please click on this code. It gives us credit for throwing this out to you if you decide to go to the game. It's a phenomenal app. I've used it multiple times. I used it 2 weeks ago to go to the U of A game for $90. Got 8 tickets, sat 8th row in the corner of the end zone. It was fantastic. Game Time to me is one of the best apps if you're going to try and find tickets anywhere.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Big news breaking from the Sun Devils Kenny Dillingham press conference. We still have to tell our friends about the DraftKings Sportsbook app too. Is that what we're getting into? Because there's some action. We're going to get into our pop, lock, and drop. But let me tell you about our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook, because you can't find a better app to place your bets Sunday, Monday, any day that ends in I. Bet with your family members, your friends this holiday season. No longer are you arguing about politics at the dinner table. You're arguing about which way you're going as far as the spreads, the props out there. I had a bad loss yesterday. Got to recover today because I left the house when Oregon was up. What was it?
31 to 10.
31 to 10. And I thought it was a big fat winner. It was a big fat loser. Now I'm chasing it a little bit, but I feel alive today. That's all thanks to our friends over the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Still up on the NFL and college football season, so I'm going to continue to have that itch. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the code PHNX. Place $5 bet on any NFL team to win their game to get $150 in free bets if they do. Only on the DraftKings Sportsbook app with the code PHNX. Minimum age, eligibility restrictions apply. See the show notes for the details.
Well, and that's the segue into prop locks and drops on Tap That App, America's favorite segment.
Can I give the breaking news, though, from our friends over at PHNX Sun Devils?
Yeah.
Anthony Totri tweeting out, Kenny Dillingham says Arizona State will retain Sean Aguano on their coaching staff.
How about that? There we go. That's a great move. That's a great move. You want to keep the guy that has really been all about Arizona his whole life, and has really supported this community. He wanted this job, obviously. This gives him a little bit more time to kind of get that experience necessary to really understand how to develop a program and understand, like, hey, listen, like, if you want a coaching job, you're probably going to have to go somewhere else outside the state. Let's just be real about that. And I think Sean Aguano did an admirable job as the temporary head coach, but it's a positive move for this program, and I'm glad that Sean Aguano is going to stick around and be a part of that because I know he really loves ASU.
Well, if you're a Sun Devils fan, I mean, this is the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
You get the hot new coordinator come in, revive some life into this program, then you get to keep this guy who is clearly so well respected from the college or the high school coaches around this area. And then as far as the players in that locker room, as far as the mentor that he's been to those guys, especially the running backs who he's coached up, I mean, this is huge. You get both. You don't just have to make a decision. He doesn't exit and try to make his way as a college coach. He gets to kind of stay on the staff and help out and hopefully usher in a new Sun Devil football program.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know what kind of relationship Dillingham and Guano have had, or if they even have one. But the fact that Dillingham was willing to keep him on staff, I think that's a big deal, and that's a win-win for everybody in the program. So congratulations to Sean Aguano. He deserved that at the very least, in my opinion. So, all right, so props this week. I'll start it off. My prop for this week that I absolutely love is the Ravens-Jaguars game. Take Lamar Jackson, anytime touchdown, plus 175, I believe, right now. Or is it 275? I think it might be 275, actually. Let me make sure, double check. Is 175. Yeah, 175. That's easy money. Easy. He's going to score a touchdown today. Guaranteed.
I like that one. It's great odds, great value there. I'm going to take, looking at the Chargers-Cardinals game, because that's the one I'm going over each and every day here. I said this on Bets on Friday when I joined Johnny. James Conner, his over on carries, it's right around 15. He had 21 in his game against the Rams a couple of weeks ago. He was in the teens last week in a blowout to the 49ers. If the Arizona Cardinals can keep this close, they're going to want to establish the run game, have that run balance. There's nobody else, really. I mean, there's Keontae Ingram. There's the rookie 6th-rounder, but he's very oft used as far as this Arizona Cardinals run game goes. James Conner, if the Cardinals keep it close, will easily surpass his 15 carries. Give me James Conner. I think it's now up to 15.5. I think he'll easily get to 16, 17 carries, because who else are they going to hand the ball off to? So James Conner and his carry prop for me. As far as my lock this week,
they handed it off to Benjamin. I don't know.
No, that's not. These are not. You would never know, though, watching Hard Knocks, that he's not even a member of this team. I've been riding this team the last couple of weeks, Saul. They're one of the hottest teams in the league. Give me the Commanders. 4-point favorites over Atlanta. Now, I mean, the Falcons are playing decent football, but not as good as Taylor Heineke and his ability to win a color scheme of the team he beat, Jordan's. He's motivated to win. They're going to get Chase Young back. That defense gets a little bit better, and I like the Commanders to cover at home against the Falcons.
Is that because you played them on Madden?
This Commanders team is a lot better than my Madden team, which has Lamar Jackson, who is your prop of the week. He plays a lot better too in real life than when I'm on the sticks.
Well, Justin Fields is out today.
Yeah,
and that's where my lock is going. I'm going to take Jets money line as the lock. Like, that's easy. Okay. However, here's the other part of this lock. We're going to give you all three. The money line, you're going to go Jets. The total over under is only 36. I'm taking the under. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game at all whatsoever. And then the spread is -8 for the Jets. I'm taking the Bears plus the points. Like, I think the Bears will lose the game, but they will not lose it by more than 8 points at all. So there's your three. I think that's easy. Yeah, simple stuff right there, right? You know, drop. So my drop today is anything related to DeAndre Hopkins. I love D-Hop. He's going to catch plenty of balls, but if you think he's going to score multiple touchdowns today or even a touchdown, I'm not buying it today. I think that Kyler's going to try to spread the ball. He's probably going to get Hollywood involved a little bit more today. I'm excited to see what this offense finally looks. Mm-hmm. After 11 weeks, we finally get to see what the totality of this offense is going to look, minus Ertz.
And the offensive line.
And the offensive line. But with all the receiving pieces, at least, in play, I'm excited. I don't know if Rondale Moore's going to play. He's not.
We'll get
never mind. Maybe not. I spoke too soon. We have two really, really good receivers and a bunch of people that are injured. That's awesome. Maybe some Greg Dortch love today. Maybe you could take that. But I'm not touching anything in this Cardinals game because I don't even understand what the Chargers do on a week-to-week basis. They should be one of the best football teams in the league, and they habitually choke in fourth quarters all the time. Yeah. And I just cannot figure it out. Justin Herbert deserves better. Justin Herbert's probably going to get a new coach next year, so we'll see.
It's the hot seat bowl, right? It's Brandon Staley versus Cliff Kingsbury. It's maybe the Sean Payton Bowl. One thing I'm staying away is at least the game spread between the Dolphins and Texans. You got the Scottsdale native Kyle Allen stepping in for Davis Mills. I have no confidence in the Texans, but 14, 2 touchdowns is a massive spread. I will tell you this, though. It seems to be just like clockwork. It cashes in. If you take the under on the total of these games that are double-digit spreads, it usually produces a winner, and it's a pretty high total. It's 47.5, and if you're looking at that game, I would take the under on the Texans-Dolphins because the Dolphins are going to have to do some heavy, heavy lifting as far as getting there. It usually cashes. I think you've only lost in like double-digit games. You've only lost like 2 or 3 times as far as the under not hitting.
Interesting. Cool. All right. Well, that was Tap That App and all our props and locks and drops. And now we go to flight risk. But before we get there, I have to tell you about the fantastic deals we are running right now on the Go PHNX website. It's Black Friday. It's Cyber Weekend. Tomorrow, Cyber Monday. We have everything for you. We have deals as low as 99-cent shirts that you can buy. 20% off just about every single thing, all the way up to 90% off of certain items. A lot of our shirts are 50% off right now. Go check it out in the locker. We also dropped brand new hoodies. We dropped a couple brand new shirts. Go check it all out. Phoenix is finally being represented across the board. We have him on a hoodie. We have him on a t-shirt. Get yours today. It's fantastic. And just in case you were thinking about getting a Die Hard membership, do it, because then you get an additional 20% on top of the discounts that we have for this Cyber Weekend. Please, please, please check it out. It's fantastic. Do some shopping for yourself. Do some shopping for your family. All the merch is fantastic. You're going to love it. It's nice, high-quality material, nice and soft, like my man Bo Brock is wearing the Southwest Bias jersey or shirt. It is nice and soft material. I got the Kyler Murray shirt on right now. It's so comfortable. I recommend 1,000 out of 1,000. So check it out. Go phnx.com. If you're a diehard, you need to go through the website and click on merch to get the discount. Don't go straight to the locker. That's a different set of scenarios. So, all right, let's get into this Cardinals-Chargers game. Kyler Murray's back. He looks like he's going to get the go today. Hamstrings healed up. He's got Hollywood Brown back as well. I wonder if they coordinated that. And listen, like for a team that's been through the ringer, especially after Monday night and that disaster, you kind of got to wonder what the mentality of this team is. I know a lot of people after Monday night were like, just end the season now. This is over. This is just an absolute disaster. But there's still some things to play for and some things you got to figure out, mainly the workflow and the education of Kyler Murray as we get to the end of the season.
For sure.
There was a report today, I think it was by Schefter, or no, it was
Rap Sheet.
Rap Sheet, yeah, talking about the relationship between Cliff and Kyler. That is a work in progress. And they felt like these last 2 weeks, because he didn't play, they were able to get on the same page a little bit more. So I'm anxious to see what's going to happen today.
Yeah, I mean, it was, they called it, or at least Rap Sheet, he said it was a, quote, blessing in disguise. And it's kind of what we've been talking about on PHNX Cardinals. When you see, at least after his first start, Colt McCoy run this offense so efficiently, could Kyler Murray gain some perspective? Can he maybe apply what Colt was successful in doing and where he was unsuccessful the first 9 games of the season? And it's interesting to see that they called this relationship tense, but you appreciate that, right? 3-6. I wouldn't think that your relationship would be good if it's all like sunshine and flowers at that point. That ain't right either. Like you should be pissed off that things aren't working out. And it obviously was a combination of play calling and poor play on Kyler Murray's behalf and Cliff Kingsbury's behalf. So the fact that they were able to do it, go 1-1 on it, obviously you want to go 2-0, but if you go 1-1 and you can get that perspective and come back and potentially play better, that's good. Now, the rest of the 6 games is going to come down to, we know that Cliff Kingsbury can't win at the end of the season. He's got to help change that narrative with these next 6 games. And Kyler Murray has to gain some respect and at least some confidence from this fan base that he was worth that $230.5 million contract extension that he got. That's what's going to be important these next 6 games, to show signs of life and finish strong. Show anything to be excited about after just a brutal start to the season that's carried on in a week 12.
The The thing that's interesting the most about this Cliff Kyler dynamic is the fact that they've been together for over 4 years and they still can't figure it out. I don't understand that. That gives me pause for concern. It really does. And again, listen, there's rumors out there about different coaches that might be interested in taking over the Cardinals. One of them is obviously Sean Payton. We've been on that train. You guys have been talking about that several times over the course of the last couple of weeks. It's almost like we're going to try and speak it into existence. But what I will say is that the offensive line, because it's so weak, you need somebody like Kyler to be able to go out there and move around and take advantage of other opportunities with his legs. Colt McCoy could only do so much. Right. But listen, Colt McCoy, I said this after he won game 1. He's a career backup for a reason. And you started to see that in that Monday Night Football game. The ball was a little bit slower to get out, or not slower, but it was slower to reach its target. A lot of floating balls because he just doesn't have the arm strength of a Kyler Murray, and that's not a surprise. It is what it is, right? He's good for a game, maybe 2, maybe 3, and then that's it. You got to go with the other guy. And so Kyler Murray coming back at the right time. The history on Cliff, as you just mentioned, is not good in the second half of seasons. No. I will say this. If he repeats what happened last year at the end of the season, this year, I don't think he's the head coach next year. No. Because now that's 5 years in a row that you've seen everything 4 years in a row that you've seen everything fall apart in the second half of seasons. You can't have it. You can't have it. You should be playing your best football as you head towards the playoffs or at the end of the season, not your worst. And it looks like it's starting to be the worst, and hopefully they can rectify that today. And who's the one guy that you're going to keep your eye on for today?
Outside of Kyler Murray? Because, I mean, the biggest guy is Kyler and Hollywood Brown, who Cliff said earlier this week could be on a pitch count. But it's going to come down, and DeAndre Hopkins obviously is in that mix as well. There's not much more to it offensively. I think James Conner has to have a big game because this Chargers team is susceptible against the run, and you've got to be able to set that pass rush balance going there. But also Vance Joseph in this defense, they need to show up because they kind of got a pass because how poorly this offense played to start the season, that the defense, just by getting stops, people were like, oh, this defense is good. It hasn't been good. It's given up 30 plus points in the last 4 out of the 5 games. It hasn't been competitive enough to win football games. So I think Vance Joseph in this defense going up against Justin Herbert, who, as you mentioned, like there's something that the league will not allow them to finish games. The rest of the league can do it and continually hangs L's on the Chargers when you think that they should be cruising to victories. The Cardinals need to continue that trend because if teams continue to get right against the Cardinals, I mean, that's a big time problem. And that's coaching. So when I look at somebody, I look at Vance Joseph, who kind of gotten a pass because people look at what's been invested in the defense, not a whole lot, but we haven't seen this defense compete enough despite the offense's poor efforts.
Yeah. Jalen Blair in the chat says, I don't think Cliff can turn this thing around because he is handcuffed by the O-line. They have no run game outside of Kyler. They struggle to protect. They struggle protecting Kyler. I don't know what Cliff can do. This is all true. Listen, the offensive line is anemic. However, there are other coaches in the league that I would say adjust even having depleted offensive lines. Now, they might not be, they might not take the most average or basic offensive lineman and make them a Hall of Fame looking guard or tackle. I'm not saying that. But they have schemed things to a degree to where that's alleviated to a degree, not completely. Still,
Burrow won a game getting sacked 9 times in a playoff.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes was running for his life in the Super Bowl and still made some dimes.
You got to make plays.
I will say this is like, Jalen, I appreciate and respect what you're saying. You always have great takes. Last year, he had some problems on the offensive line, not to this degree, and they still were tragic down the end. This is a routine, right? This is a routine at the end of the season, and that's all we're saying. So hopefully they can turn it around today. Hopefully they can get a dub and get back on the right track. And honestly, more than anything, hopefully Kyler, Cliff, and D-Hop and Hollywood can all have a nice synergy about them today to where you can at least see glimpses of hope as we move forward. That's what you want to see as we move forward. Hopefully we'll get that today. Bo Brock will be live from the stadium today on PHNX Cardinals. You can catch them at halftime and in the post-game show. So check that out. Johnny Venerable, Frank Sanders, Damian Anderson, all here live in studio for your latest on the Chargers versus the Cardinals. So until then, we'll see you next time on the PHNX Tailgate. Bear down.